Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
The Indians rallied late thanks to a Chris Johnson mammoth home run, but the White Sox snuck away with a 4-3 win. The Tribe lost ground in the jumbled AL wildcard race and now need a win to take the series against the Southsiders and get back to the 500 mark. Josh Tomlin has thrown complete games in 2 of his last 3 starts. He gets the call next on Sports Time Ohio. It is a beautiful Sunday, September afternoon in downtown Cleveland as the Indians wrap up the homestand trying to take 2 out of 3 from the Chicago White Sox and keep their playoff hopes alive. Hi again, everyone. Matt Underwood alongside Rick Manning. Last night had all the makings of the Indians coming out and making it 2 straight against Chicago, but things got a little bit sideways in the middle of that ball game, and then the way it ended was just flat out strange.
Well, they had a chance to come back into it. Chris Johnson hits a bomb last night to center field to make it a 1-run game. Almonte, after this hit, lines a base hit into center field. He's on first base and brings up Jason Kipnis. But what happens? It is diffused because he is picked off over at first base. Not that he was going anywhere, but that ends the ball game right there and a chance for the Indians to come back and win. They had him on the ropes, and you look at the wild card standings. They are 4 games behind. Minnesota Twins, they've lost 5 in a row. The Angels have been hot. The Astros won last night. So, again, it's jumbled up there. With 4 games, the Indians are back.
Disappointing thing about that thing last night is Jason Kipnis was at the plate, never got a chance to swing the bat. Josh Tomlin is on the mound for the Tribe this afternoon, and hopefully he can continue his solid pitching, although roughed up his last time out.
Well, just a 2-0 loss. They couldn't get on the board for him, and really the first run that they scored was lost in the twilight. The second one was a home run by Rios. That was only the legitimate run they had. No offensive support, but he's been great for the Indians all year long. Josh Tomlin, control. 3 walks, 44 strikeouts. He beat the White Sox back on September 9th. The 3 runs he gave up were all solo home runs. He's matched up against left-hander John Danks in his career, 5-13 with a high ERA against the Indians, and hopefully they can come back, win 2 out of 3, and let's see what happens.
All right, when we come back, Andre Knott joins us to talk about a new leadership council within the Indians clubhouse. Cleveland Indians baseball is brought to you by W.B. Mason, the official office supplier of the Cleveland Indians. By McDonald's, I'm loving it. By your local Toyota dealers. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. And by the injury lawyers at Elk & Elk, proud sponsors of the Cleveland Indians. Call 1-800-ELK, Ohio. Beautiful day at the yard as we're getting ready for baseball. Indians and White Sox wrapping up this 3-game series. You know, Rick, you may not know this, but when our buddy Andre Knott was the star at Akron St. Vincent St. Mary, he was the straw that stirred the drink. He was the guy they leaned on in crunch time. We like to call those things leadership qualities. So he knows a lot about this subject that he's going to tell us all about here.
Oh, thank you, Matt. It's nice to talk to you this wonderful Sunday. I appreciate all that. No, after the departures of Nick Swisher and Michael Bourne, the Indians decided as a team it was time for the younger group of guys to take leadership of the team. And a lot of times when it comes to leadership, it's easy to sit in a clubhouse and talk about, well, I'll do this or I'll do that. So the team talked to Terry Francona. 3 guys mainly, Corey Kluber, Michael Brantley, and Josh Tomlin, all got together and said, hey, let's put together a contract that states who we want to be. And as Jan Gomes told me, it's easy to spitball and say, yeah, we're the leaders and this is how we're going to be. He goes, but literally, we feel like we have a young group of guys that can do something special here with the Cleveland Indians. And rather than just kind of, make something up and not believe in it, we're going to write a contract out and sign it. And all of us are going to put our names to it. And this is who we're going to be as baseball players and as an organization. Well, yesterday they finalized their contract. They put it in Spanish, they put it in English, and each guy on the roster read through it, looked at it, and they made sure that they signed it to say who they wanted to be as Indians and as this organization. Also, the Winter Development Program is starting this week. So today, those 3 guys in part of that leadership will all talk to the minor leaguers and tell them what they expect from a Cleveland Indian from here going forward.
All right, I like that.
You're a Cleveland Indian born and bred. What do you? I love this idea.
I like it because you know what? You got to let these kids know right from the start coming into this organization. Let's do it the Cleveland Indians way. If you have a way, then I love it. I think it's great, and I think they should continue to do it. And they signed that contract. I've never heard anything like that, but I like it.
You've talked to me about this for years, mostly off the air, about having a proper, consistent way to do things. As a Cleveland Indian, this is how we're going to play the game. Fundamentally, defensively, offensively. Why not put it in writing so that there's no gray area?
And you know what? That starts from A-ball. You have to do that, and usually you like to have your veteran coaches or whatever to instill this into the young kids. So when you get called up to the next level, then they know what they have to do there. It doesn't change. It continues all the way up to the big leagues. I think it's great.
So the Indians have a new direction. They also have been playing much better baseball. Last night, obviously, a disappointing defeat against Chicago, but hey, this is the hole they put themselves in by playing so poorly earlier in the year. So you can look at it half empty, half full. I think the way I'm looking at it right now is this is a team that's definitely a different club than we saw earlier in the season. Not a perfect team by any means, but it's a team that's playing together. They're playing better. And, hey, they've got work to do in the offseason, and they've still got a chance, albeit a long shot, but they still got a chance at this wild card spot.
Well, what people forget, too, you can't win every single game, and that's what pretty much what the Indians have to do right now is win every single game. And they forget that a lot of these kids here are young kids, and you have to make mistakes to learn, and they're making mistakes, but they'll learn along the way, and that's only going to benefit them down the road.
Josh Tomlin and the Tribe take the field on this Sunday afternoon. Sunday Kids Fun Day here at the Yard. Kids sprinkled throughout the defensive diamond. As the players go out and greet each individual with a handshake. Thrill of a lifetime for most of those young kids on the field. Francisco Lindor hoping to bounce back after a rough night last night. Jason Kipnis trying to lead the way once again for this Indians ball club.
He's trying to talk Kipnis into letting him play second base.
Why don't you take this off? Oh, that's outstanding. All right, let's take a look at the starting lineup that Josh Tomlin will face for Chicago this afternoon. Adam Eaton in the leadoff spot. Jose Abreu batting second. Melky Cabrera will hit third. Trace Thompson, Avisail Garcia, and Alexei Ramirez in the middle. Mike Olt, Tyler Flowers, and Carlos Sanchez rounded out.
And today's Northern Ohio Honda starting pitcher is going to be Josh Tomlin, who's been really terrific this year, making his 8th start. Despite losing his second complete game in his last start, snapped a winning streak at 5 consecutive starts for Josh. He pitched great in that ball game. Only gave up 2 runs. They didn't score for him. He went 9 innings, completed that game, 4 hits, just the 2 runs. So he's been fine. He beat Chicago 2 starts ago in Chicago. He went 5 2/3, gave up 5 hits and 3 runs. He'll get a crack at doing it again here this afternoon. Let's set the defense behind him today. Brought to you by Ram. In the outfield, in left it's Brantley, center is Almonte, over and right Chisenhall gets the start against the lefty today. Aviles is at third, Lindor at short, Kipnis at second, Santana at first, and Gomes doing the catching.
Todd Tishner has the plate today. Chris Siegel is at first, Mike Everett at second, and the crew chief Tim Welke down at third. Glad to have you with us on this Sunday afternoon. We're ready to go. Adam Eaton has 3 hits and 9 trips to the plate in the series. And then it takes a strike.
Josh Tomlin, 50 innings on the year, just 3 walks and 44 strikeouts. That sums it up. He's only given up 31 hits. Left-handers are hitting just $110 off him this year. It's hard to believe.
A little bit low.
Well, actually, right-handers, too, they're not hitting very well. 171 combined. He hasn't given up many hits.
Eaton reaching for it, fouls it off.
And it's all about the command for Josh Tomlin. Move it around, change speeds, keep him off balance.
Adam Eaton started last night's game with a 10-pitch at-bat before grounding out. He's among the American League leaders in triples with 9. He's tied for 4th. Tied for 10th in runs scored with 90. And he's got a base hit to start the game. Keys to the game brought to you by Wayside Furniture. For Josh Tomlin, it's all about command and feel to pitch. And offensively, the Indians would love to get on John Danks early in the game. He can be, at times, a slow starter. Jose Abreu. That's the second time didn't we just see him do that the last time he started?
Yes, he did. His last start, Perez was on first base. Salvador Perez was on first base, never left it. And it's the same thing here with Eaton. It's just automatic for him. He just pays attention. He's been doing that a lot this year. Of course, nobody's going to steal a base on him, nor have they tried. But he pays a lot of attention. And he realizes that's all part of the game that he has to do. He has to do that.
Down low. Ball 1 to Abreu.
He has a quick delivery to home plate. He keeps runners honest, but he also even makes him maybe a half a step closer because he continues to throw over there. He's about 1-1 to home plate, which is very quick.
Tight.
We saw last night where Eaton tries to time him. Remember on Carrasco, he jumped off and he was going to, and Carlos held it just enough and he had to throw back. He's one that tries to time you and get that jump and go, but he won't be able to do that to Tomlin.
And a strike called in the inside corner. Two and one on Abreu. Abreu does not give in. He's been hit by a pitch 15 times this year, which is second most in the American League. Not that he's on top of the plate, but where he stands, he's got great plate coverage. He's not going to go bailing out. Chased one, 2-2. Since the All-Star break, Abreu is 5th in RBIs with 47. but he's a consistent run producer. He's been up there on the leaderboard most of the year.
Well, he will. He's a guy that he's a very good situational hitter.
Eighth in RBIs is Abreu in the league. Toronto has 3 of the top 4 RBI men in the AL.
Yeah, the way they score runs, it doesn't surprise you.
3 over 100 already. The 2-2. Wow, how did he even get a piece of that?
I don't know, but I mean, that goes to show you the kind of guy, he can get the bat to the ball. On the 2-0 count, Tomlin went in with the fastball and he took it, but that one really bears in. But you see, he gets a piece of it to stay alive. That was not even close to being a strike. It's because he changes his swing when he gets the 2 strikes and tries to put the ball in play for a big guy, for a power hitter.
Swung on and missed. Tomlin strikes him out with some off speed.
That's just a nice sequence for Tomlin because he fell behind in the count. Let's make this our Circle K strikeout. There's a nice little cutter on the outside part of the plate. It starts on the edge, works its way off just a bit, and you get Abreu going out there to try and hit it. He thought it was a fastball. At the end, it had a little cut. He gets out number 1.
Melky Cabrera. Takes a strike, delayed steal. Nobody at the bag to cover. Got him anyway.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Lindor was late getting there, but he reached in to take the throw and somehow still nabbed Adam Eaton.
I thought there was no chance. It was a delayed steal, and he did it very well. But Gomes comes up and he throws it. I don't know if they're going to challenge it or not. He comes up, and then for some reason, Lindor gets there. Look, he was fooled and tricked. Gomes had the double clutch, but a perfect throw by Yan Gomes gets Eaton at second base. That's a perfect throw.
I'll tell you what, Rick, when you look at the replay, especially the replay angle from behind Yan Gomes, Eaton did everything right because Gomes didn't even realize he was going. It took him a second to react and realize, oh, he's going. Then he double clutched and still made a perfect throw.
It was a perfect throw right there. He's right. That's the sneak attack on the delayed steal. You hope you catch the infielders with their heads down.
Watch Gomes.
I know he's going to stop and he's off. He had to double clutch because he wasn't sure anybody was going to get there. But I'll tell you what, Lindor did.
And Cabrera goes down swinging to end the inning. No runs a hit, nobody left. The Indians are coming to bat when we come back. For the Indians today is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Jason Kipnis in the leadoff spot. He'll be followed by Francisco Lindor. Michael Brantley hitting third. Ryan Rayburn, third straight start, is in the cleanup spot. Carlos Santana, then Mike Aviles, Yan Gomes, Lonnie Chisenhall, and Abraham Almonte.
John Danks is our Northern Ohio Honda starting pitcher for the White Sox. On the year, he's 7-12. This year against the Indians, he's made 3 starts. He's 0-2 and a 6.75 ERA. In his career, 5-13. And he relies on command control as well, and he'll mix it up and change speeds and do everything he can.
Jason Kipnis takes a strike. Waves at a slow breaking ball. And it's quickly 0-2. Kip was 2 for 4 last night. Doubled in the first, bunt single in the third. Off the end of the bat, that's going to drop for a hit. How do you like that on an 0-2 pitch? He'll trade a bat for a hit.
Came back to the well with that breaking ball again. That's the one that Kipnis just swung and missed, but this one didn't get down. This one stayed up and enabled Kipnis at least to get the end of the bat on the ball. It cracked his bat, but he gets a base hit. So the second game in a row, he'll start the game off for the bottom of the first with a hit.
Now Francisco Lindor, who was 0 for 3 last night, hit into a double play. It was a weird night for Lindor. Not only did he hit into the double play and have a tough night offensively, but on the defensive side, he committed an error, nearly committed another, was also involved in a kind of a bizarre play
interference.
where runner ran into him. It's just one of those nights where he had to look up and wonder, is it a full moon or what the heck is going on?
Yeah, they happen out on the on the baseball field sometimes. You wonder what the heck is happening.
Pulls it foul.
Nice play over there by the man in blue. Well done.
He's on the hot corner for a reason.
Yeah, he didn't shy away. Picked it cleanly and gave somebody a souvenir.
Protect, serve, and play good defense.
He's going to be hitting fourth then tomorrow.
Danks goes to first. Danks hasn't missed yet. He's thrown all 5 pitches for strikes. Not a way to put the whammy on him. It's outside, 1-2. Lindor has batted .344 here at Progressive Field. Close, but just missing. It's 2-2. Danks ready now. The 2-2 coming. Goes to first instead. Again, Kipnis just back in time. I don't know, Rick. Is it just me, or does it look like Kipnis is having a tough time picking him up coming to first? Looks like
well,
he's just
you know
a
what he
little late
does?
going back to the
He picks his legs straight up and he sort of leans to first base. It takes a minute to see him leaning when you're over there. And there's a short, quick step.
That's out of play. Kipnis getting a lot of attention from John Danks. Boy, Rick, it looks like when you look at John Danks season, his body of work this year, just doesn't look like there's been any in between. He's either been really good, really bad.
Yeah,
not a lot of in between.
Well, he's not overpowering. He's a guy that has to be very good.
In his last 3 starts, he's got a 2.45 ERA, but before that, he had a game against Seattle where he gave up 7 runs in 5 innings. He's had games where he gave up 6, 6, 5, 5, 6, 5.
Well, he's 3-8 on the road, and 2 of his 3 wins have been complete games. That was at Houston and Kansas City. So when he's feeling it, he has it. Then he is very good, but he can't miss on the plate, and that's why that ERA is up there. He's given up 23 home runs. He's given up more hits than innings pitched, 171 to 161. Plus, he's walked 48. So you can't make many mistakes because there's base runners on a lot.
2-2, popped him up again.
See, that's what he needs. He needs balls put in play and his defense to play very good behind him.
I guess like a lot of left-handers who aren't overpowering, and there aren't many that are, he's really a true field-to-pitch guy. If he's got command of that breaking ball where he can really spot it and throw it, he's going to make it tough.
Yep. Throwing strikes, he gets ahead of hitters and then expands their zone. But, when they faced him before, and he's never had a lot of luck against the Indians. The Indians are one team that, they've had a lot of success against him in his career.
Lindor strikes out.
There's a changeup. Let's check out that White Sox defense now that we have an opportunity. It is brought to you by Ram. It'll be Cabrera in left, Eaton in center, Thompson in right. Holt at third, Ramirez at short, Sanchez at second, Abreu at first, Flowers behind the dish.
Throw to first, Kip back safely.
Well, that's what you do instead of diving back all the time. You shorten your lead by a step because you're not really running. So you don't have to go diving back in all the time.
Pulls it foul. Now the 0-1. Down and in. A little bit low.
You do see Danks go over to first a lot. He has 28 pickoffs in his career since 2008.
Brantley pulls it foul.
Danks is a guy that will not get a lot of swings and misses.
But he strikes
he
out
got
Brantley.
One there.
That's back to back. It's taken him a while to get there, but
he stayed inside on Michael right there, and it was down and in. Michael loves that ball down, but it was just inside enough. You make a mistake with that pitch, Michael hurts you. But you see, he turned it over a little bit, and it had some run going inside. So good pitch by Danks.
Tyler Flowers going out to talk. It's taken Danks roughly 6 pitches per batter thus far. Here's Ryan Rayburn, 2 for 5.
Yeah, he has good numbers against Danks in his career. 340 average, 4 homers, 12 ribbies.
Swung on and missed. Good fastball from Danks.
That one had a little zip to it.
Sure did.
I don't know if he reached back this early in the game to get a little extra on it. It looked like he did. Because everything else has been about 88. That one was 90.
Well, I'm sure he's well aware of the success Ryan Rayburn has had, not only against the White Sox, but against him in particular.
Right.
340 average with 4 homers, so he probably had this one circled on the lineup card before the game began.
Yeah, they don't forget. They know.
Our window system's game time temperature this afternoon here at Progressive Field, 68 degrees with the wind blowing in. Coming on off the lake. Be interesting to see how the ball carries, especially toward right and right center. Two balls, 2 strikes, 2 down, a runner at first. And that's fouled, ouch, off Tyler Flowers.
Yeah, you saw him hop up. That hurt. Umpire giving him a little time.
Oh, right off the kneecap. Yeah, must have been right off the knee. Maybe the forearm, too.
I don't know. It didn't feel good. He's taking a little walk. It's still stinging.
Take another look, Rick. This might have got the forearm. I thought it was the knee, but maybe it was the forearm because his forearm's on top of his knee.
Right. Oh, elbow.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's it hurts. He's taking a lot of time. Seeing the trainer, they realize it now, and now he's just going to wave him back. He just needed a little extra time. That thing caught him flush.
There's sort of a code among catchers. You really don't ever want the trainer to have to come out on the field unless it's really bad. So on Flowers' case, he was just taking a little too much time, and Robin Ventura finally said, you know what, let's go make sure he's okay. But you take a foul tip off the fat of your forearm, and it's going to sting for a while. 23rd pitch of the inning coming up here for John Danks. And a full count. So he stayed to his average. 6 pitches per batter is what he's averaged here in the first inning. Long term, that's not good for Danks.
That looks like about 5 innings.
Kipnis will be off. Slowly chopped to third, and it's going to go foul.
Caught the edge of the grass. If that ball stays fair, it's a base hit. It looked like it hit the cut of the grass and kicked. Foul. Hit it off the end of the bat, a little bit out in front. There it is, right on the edge. Watch it hit the grass.
Boom. See ya.
Right on the
Sure did. Bounced about 3 or 4 feet to the left.
And the 3-2. Inside, he missed. So the inning continues. 2 on, 2 out. Take a look at our Kia in the driver's seat with Carlos Santana over his last 25 games. Batting over 300 with a couple of homers, 15 runs batted in.
'29 2-out ribbies with an opportunity for another 1 or 2 here.
The 1-1. A little bit low. 2 balls and a strike. Santana in the series, 2 for 7, with a grand slam in the opener and a double last night. Curveball hit towards short. Backhanded by Ramirez. Going to go to third. And they get the inning-ending force.
That was the easy play.
Long first inning. No score after 1. No score. For Chicago, Trace Thompson, Avisail Garcia, and Alexei Ramirez coming up. That's up high, ball 1.
You know, another beautiful day here on this homestand, but you see that wind. It's a little cooler today than it has been the last 4 or 5 days. That wind blowing in from right center field will knock a lot of balls down, as we tell you.
I tell you, it's great if you're in the sunshine today. But if you're in the shade with that breeze, it's a little on the cool side.
A little chilly. It's fall.
Yeah, it's here, September 20th.
Yeah, it is. It's fall.
I think tomorrow would be the first official day of autumn, right?
Well, let's ask.
Fouled right back. 23rd, they tell us this year.
A little late this year, huh? Who's that, Murph Goddard?
He checked the Woolly Bear Almanac?
Yes, he did. He was in his backyard last night looking for him. The coal miner's helmet on, looking.
The shovel?
Yeah.
The 2-2. There's a hop up on the infield. And Mike Aviles makes the catch. 1 down.
Get live Indians baseball season long with MLB.com at bat on your smartphone or tablet. You can stay connected with live radio broadcasts, stats, breaking news, and more. Download MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball.
Avisail Garcia getting the DH duties today for Chicago. Low and away. Ball 1. Garcia cuts and misses. 1 ball, 1 strike. Popped him up. Back. Gomes. No play. That get him on the hand?
Yeah,
Yes,
I think it did. It sounded funny, didn't it?
Yeah.
It went inside. It had to get him on the hand. Nothing that Tomlin tried to do right there. He wanted to had him down. Listen to this. It sounded funny. So he just flips the bat over. We'll take first base.
Oh, yeah, right on that lead hand.
For Josh, that's just the second batter he has hit this year. He didn't try to do that. He was ahead of him, wanted to get him out, pitching him inside.
Especially he's 1 for his last 15.
Right.
Alexei Ramirez. Unlike Garcia, he's in a bit of a hot spell right now. Over his last 18 games, Ramirez hitting at a .333 clip. Although he's 0 for 7 in the series. Swung on and missed. You know, the only other White Sox players in their franchise history to hit 100 homers and steal 100 bases, besides Alexei Ramirez, are Ray Durham and the late Minnie Minoso. Minnie Minoso, who did spend a couple of years with the Indians, passed away on the 1st of March this year at the age of 90. He's known as the Cuban Comet. And it seemed like he would play forever. And I think he tried to play forever. Missed inside.
Tried to go in there and lock him up.
Minoso once said, when I die, I want to be playing baseball, truly. They don't bury me without my uniform. If I die happy because I was wearing number 9 for the White Sox.
Yeah. Well, how many decades did he play in?
That's what I said. I mean, he played forever.
Yeah, I think it was 6 decades.
Let me see if I can find it.
He came back and, they gave him an appearance. I know it was 5.
5 different decades.
Yeah.
And I think he wanted to do a 6th, but they said no.
Baseball said no. Yeah, they might have been afraid to get him an at-bat.
Ramirez down on strikes.
He had that little breaking ball working off the outside part of the plate going very well today. Watch, it starts on the outside part of the plate and then just goes straight down, a little bit off of it. Perfectly placed. 3 strikeouts now for Tomlin.
Out of play to the right. Upstairs, 1-1. Tried to hold up, but he went around. And a count 1-2. Just a bit outside. Quick toss over to first. Garcia falls back to the bag. Now the 2-2 in the dirt. Full count. This one's not exactly high tempo. Not an up tempo type game so far.
No, you got the same style pitchers. They don't give in. They throw a lot of pitches. There's a lot of foul balls. Very deliberate when they get on the mound. Get runners on. Sit down, strap it up, and let's go. Let's watch it.
He walks him. So a hit batter and a walk, and the inning continues with 2 down for Tyler Flowers. Grab some friends and catch a game at the new Corner Bar, open to all fans at Progressive Field. $13 district tickets presented by Sports Time Ohio are going quickly, so get yours today. Tickets available only at Indians.com/district ticket. Missed outside, ball one to Tyler Flowers. Missed outside.
A lot of pitches for Tomlin early in this game.
Well, he seemed like he kind of breezed through the first, but here in the second, as you said, foul ball after foul ball, just missing, and deep counts.
Yeah, throwing more pitches off the plate.
And, like we pointed out, with the wind blowing in, you would think it would be one of those games where, let him hit it to the big part of the yard. Some of that falls on the hitters, too. They're not able to put him in play.
That's true.
In the air, left field. In comes Brantley. And the inning is over. Middle of the second, no score. Our Levin Furniture player profile on Chicago lefty John Danks. Was a first round pick of the Rangers back in 03, the 9th overall selection. Went to the White Sox 3 years later, and 9 big league seasons, just 79 and 97. His brother, sort of a pedestrian outfielder for a few years. Mike Aviles, Yan Gomes, and Lonnie Chisenhall due for the Tribe here in the second. Up and away, ball one. Back into the seats. Aviles, good record against Danks. Shoots it fouled on the left side. Checked. Did he go? No, he did not.
Ooh, that was close. That was closer than I thought.
Yeah. Got a break, I think.
Yes, sir.
Up high. Wow. Another full count. Payoff pitch and a ground ball to short. Alexi Ramirez throws him out. One away. Let's go down to Andre. This is a club that's had some success against John Danks. We just haven't seen it so far today.
No, we haven't seen it so far today. And then talking to some of the players, they go, look, the thing you got to respect about John Danks, he doesn't throw it completely hard, but he will challenge you, and he'll stay around the plate a lot like Josh Tomlin, as you guys were talking about in the last inning. They said, look, he'll come at you at every different angle and every different pitch, but at the end of the day, you know he's going to put it over the plate. And a lot of the guys, like Mike Aviles, who just made it out, said this. He goes, look, at the end of the day, I just want a guy that's willing to throw it over the plate and challenge me, and we'll go from there. And that's what the Indians have been able to do against him in the past.
There's a line drive base hit in the left field for Yan Gomes. Tribe's second hit of the afternoon. And a one-out base runner now for Lonnie Chisenhall.
There's a ball. Looked like it might have been a little cutter coming down and into Yan, who hits it into left field. Chisenhall getting the start today now against the left-hander.
Down low. Smoked deep right field. Thompson looking up. Goodbye. Lonnie Chisenhall's 7th home run of the year gives the Indians a 2-0 lead.
'24th home run given up by Danks. And for Chisenhall, his 7th. Gets the Indians on the board, and he smokes this one. Boy, he got a fastball belled high, and it was middle of the plate, and he makes him pay. No doubt.
Wow, just like that, it's 2-0 Cleveland. Abraham Almonte steps in, takes low, ball one. Showing bunt, pulled it back, took a strike. Danks takes a walk behind the mound right now. Checking out the rosin bag. Now the 1-1. Let's go down to Andre Knott. What was the fallout after the game last night with Almonte getting picked off to end it?
Well, he wasn't a happy guy because he just, he takes this game very serious. But what basically happened is he was trying to get a good lead. He was looking at Mike Starbaugh, the third base coach, who was telling him, hey, don't run. We want Kipnis to hit with this situation. And he just basically got caught in between and at the wrong time.
Well, Almonte trying to make up for it here. Lines one down into the left field corner, and he'll go for extra bases. He's got a double. And he'll hold right there. So 3 straight hits off Danks with 1 out here in the second.
Able to keep this ball fair inside the bag at third base. Might have been a little changeup. Speeds his bat up. He gets it by Alt. And Almonte gets his 6th double of the year. So another man in scoring position now. Back up to the top of the lineup.
And Jason Kipnis will be the batter. Kipnis broke his bat and singled in the first.
Yeah, they're 4 for 8 the first time through the lineup off Danks.
Caught the outside corner. This was the pickoff that ended last night's game.
Yeah, well, he got caught looking elsewhere. That's all. You never knew he was going to throw over to first base. He wasn't stealing. You know you're not going to make the last out on the bases, but he did.
Kipnis crushes it. Right field. Back is Thompson. Back pedaling onto the track. He makes a leaping catch at the wall. Almonte had to get back and tag. He gets to third, but now there are 2 down as Jason Kipnis missed by maybe a foot of hitting 1 out of here for another 2-run homer.
That wind knocked it down is what happened. He hit it a little too high. That wind enabled Thompson to get back and make a jumping catch at the fence. Don't know if it would have been out of here. No, it would have stayed in the park, but he catches the ball, and then Almonte goes back to tag up. Wasn't sure what was going to happen. I'll tell you what, if Thompson hits his cutoff man, they had a chance to throw him out. But he didn't. Kipnis is upset. That wind knocked it down and kept it in the yard.
2 away for Francisco Lindor. Outside, he missed. 1-1. Good breaking ball down in the dirt. 1-2. Sully chop. And it goes foul. That would have been perfect had it stayed on the chalk for the Indians. But we'll come back and try it again.
Well, when you hit a ball like that, it has the top spin, and that's going to roll to the left and foul. That one a little more on the grass, and it might have killed it a little bit more. But it goes as a foul ball, so re-racket. Lindor comes back, 1-2 count. Another opportunity to add here with 2 outs with Almonte at third.
Down on the dirt, blocked by Flowers. He shoots it in the left field, a 2-out RBI single, 3-0 Cleveland. Lindor picks up his 43rd RBI on the year. Boy, a nice piece of hitting. He went down, got it, and pulled it in the hole, and that's going to bring out Chicago pitching coach Don Cooper.
It's going to be our McDonald's. I'm loving it. 2-out base hits, worth their weight in gold. He stayed back on it, kept the hands back enough to hit that changeup, get it into left field. So that's a 3 spot here in the second inning. And that does damage because, you know, usually the Tribe, when they get that first 2-out hit with a runner in scoring position early, they start rolling. And they're off to a good start here in the second. They didn't get Tomlin any runs his last start.
Not to mention, John Tex has already thrown 51 pitches.
Yeah, he better make some adjustments because he's not long for this game. We're only in the second inning.
Yeah.
So, you know, 29 in the first. He's at 22 now, and he's not quite through this second inning.
Brantley cuts and misses.
That's a swing you rarely see Brantley take in that first pitch. Out in front. Rarely. He just spits on it and waits. But he pulled the string.
Down low. 1-1. Back with a dive is Lindor. Brantley awaits the 1-1. A little bit high. 2 balls and a strike. Off the dugout. 2 balls, 2 strikes. John Tex has to be wondering, when is this ever going to end? Then again, as Brantley grounds one to second, Sanchez will throw him out. Remember, we had the 50-pitch first inning not that long ago. Lonnie Chisenhall goes deep. Indians have a 3-0 lead. Lead, and Carlos Sanchez is going to lead it off for Chicago, the number 9 hitter. Takes a strike. Sanchez is 1 for 3 in the series. To first base. Santana will take it himself. 1 down. Our AT&T U-verse rewind. Let's go back to that first inning. Adam Eaton with a delayed steal. And even with the double clutch. Gomes a perfect throw.
Boy, was it ever. That's the only spot it could have been to get him. And I really thought Eaton executed that delayed steal very well. Just a perfect throw got him.
Lost his glasses, lost his helmet, and lost his place on the base paths. Just did catch the corner. Eaton's first time up, he didn't hit it hard, but it was perfectly placed for a base hit in left center field. Just missed away. Eaton has hit in 8 straight games. Deep left, Brantley on the track, runs it down right in front of the wall for out number 2. Time now for our injury report, brought to you by the injury lawyers at Elk and Elk. Boy, what a tough night for Milwaukee last night. Chris Davis was in left field. Hurt his ankle. He had to come out of the ballgame. Shane Peterson went in, and then a little fly ball down the left field line. Peterson and Herrera converged on the play, and it was a violent collision between the two of them. Herrera would go off on a stretcher. Peterson banged his knee right into the hip of Herrera, who was falling on the play, and it looked awful. But at the end of the day, everybody just kind of banged up and bruised. Nothing serious came out of it.
Well, that's good news.
To deep center. Back is Almonte. Still going back. And it's off the wall. What a backup by Lonnie Chisenhall.
How about what the wind did to that ball? That ball should have been into the trees. And it pushed it because it was cutting. And Almonte, and it's not his fault, he was going back, and he was nowhere close. It was a great job by Chisenhall to back up. That ball must have curved about 30 feet. You see, that's a breaking ball, and he gets it inside out. And he started back at the 400-foot sign. Watch him go straight back. Now watch where this ball hits off the wall. It's nowhere close. Yeah. That wind really pushed it over there. Goes as a double, but he crunched it.
Just missed outside to Melky Cabrera, who struck out his first time up. And he golfs one into right center. Chisenhall giving way to Almonte. Inning over. No runs, a hit, a man left. Middle of the third, 3-0 Cleveland. Right. Ryan Rayburn, Carlos Santana, Mike Aviles coming up for Cleveland here in the third. Rayburn chases one down low. And a foul right back. John Danks has thrown a lot of pitches already here. Closing in on 60 in the dirt. Back out of play. Low and away. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
That's
hit hard in the hole and a base hit.
Well, he got Rayburn down 0-2, and then that changeup stayed up a little bit for him, and it enabled Rayburn to get to it, find the hole between short and third. 6 hits now for the Indians. I'm thinking it won't be too long until we see that bullpen going.
Carlos Santana takes the ball in the dirt. Man, he pulls off, good off-speed pitch.
That's where Danks will get you if you try and pull him all the time, because you will see a steady diet of off-speed pitches.
High pop-up. Abreu makes the catch, 1 away. Here's our great clip of the game from last night. Chris Johnson delivering in the clutch. 9th inning. A 2-run homer. It got the Indians to within a run, and it was a blast. His first home run as an Indian. Unfortunately, that's as close as they got. Mike Aviles grounded to short in the 2nd inning. Swung out and missed. Kansas City is out to an early 5-0 lead on the Tigers in the third inning. That was a wild game they had last night. Ian Kinsler believed to be the first guy to celebrate 2 walk-offs in the same game. Pop to right, slicing, foul. Kinsler was at third base and tagged up, I think it was in the bottom of the ninth, tagged up on a sac fly to center. He came home, he scored. Game over, Tigers win. But then Ned Yost came out and asked the umpires to take another look at it. And Salvador Perez on replay review just barely tagged the toe of Kinsler before he crossed the plate. So overturned. Game not over, tied, extra innings. Then in the 11th, Kinsler wins it with a walk-off home run.
He made sure there was no replay.
To the backstop it goes, and Ryan Rayburn down to second base. He's in the scoring position now for Aviles.
That ball hits the dirt and it just got between the legs of Flowers to the backstop. He was trying to block it. But Rayburn gets himself into scoring position on the 8th wild pitch by John Danks this year.
To center. Eaton fighting the sun. Makes the catch, 2 away.
We'll be here for the Tribe's annual Fan Appreciation Night on Saturday, October 3rd against the Red Sox. The evening will feature Sugardale Dollar Dogs. Also fireworks after the game and giveaways as the Indians thank fans for their support this season. Visit Indians.com for your tickets.
Yan Gomes in the air to center. Eaton is there. Inning over. 3 complete. Cleveland 3, Chicago nothing.
$16 season tickets today and enjoy VIP perks here at Progressive Field. Season ticket holders will save over a single game prices. Get opening day, postseason priority, and much more. Visit Indians.com season tickets for full details.
Fourth inning. Trace Thompson will lead it off for Chicago. Tomlin with a strike to the outside corner. Trace Thompson popped up on the infield, his only time up today. Checked on a ball up high. 1-1. Oh, man, right off the mask of Gomes. He's all right, 2-2. Didn't look like it felt good.
No, direct hit right there.
Strike 3 called, low tracer. Bottom of the zone, 4th strikeout for Tomlin.
At the knees, it had the plate. Look at Gomes sliding inside. There it was. Plenty of plate.
Out of play. Low and away. Robin Ventura looking on as Avisail Garcia tries to break out of his funk offensively. He has been mired of late. Just 1 hit in his last 15 at bats. Swing and a miss. It's 2-2. Tomlin trying to put him away here.
Yes, he did.
He chased it. Back-to-back Ks for Josh. Give him 5 on the afternoon.
Give him 5 in every, at least 5 in every start he has this year. This is start number 8, and you'll see the curveball. He can't check it. He had 5 in his very first start. Then he had 6, 7, 8, 6, 6, 6. Now with 5, and he's not done yet. And with 1 walk, that gives him 49 strikeouts and 4 walks. That's some kind of ratio there.
Yeah, that'll work.
No doubt. You know, he wasn't a strikeout pitcher, but that arm is getting healthy, and he's got some great bite to that curveball. He's able to throw it down, and it has good spin and control it and command his pitches. So, you know, it goes to show you the kind of guy he was when he first came up, now that he's back and he's healthy.
Down low. 1 ball and 2 strikes. That's hit hard in the gap, right center. Almonte can't quite get it. Chisenhall backs him up. And into second base with a 2-out double is Alexei Ramirez, his first hit in the series.
We had a good shot of this ball as it was, slicing away from Almonte in center field. And that wind has something to do with it. He was going to catch up to it, and he was about a step short. Long way to go. So it's the second double, only the third hit given up by Tomlin.
Down to Andre.
Rick, I just wanted to ask you, in center field, what is the big difference from the ball hitting the right center to left center? Because Almonte has admitted to everyone he's comfortable here except when going to right center, and it's 2 balls today that he's looked uncomfortable going for that way.
Well, today I think it's the wind that's doing something to him, and if that's the case for him, if he's having issues going to his left, then he ought to play a few steps more to right center field. So it's not as far to run if he feels more comfortable going to his right. And today's the difference in today than was the rest of the homestand is the wind's blowing in and knocking it down or pushing it away from him. Normally that doesn't happen in center.
I would think you would be more comfortable going to your glove side.
Yeah.
So going to left center, I would think, would be a little easier for him than going to right center or going the other way. Out of play. I've always heard outfielders say, nice play. Young man in the front row brought the glove.
That is a young man. Look at it.
Made the catch.
And he's got something to drink in his one hand.
Drop.
That's a professional right there. That's a young professional. Let's see this ball come down. He's got a drink in his left. Oh, wow. Well done. Didn't spill a drop. Go celebrate.
Upstairs. 2-2. Not a baby. Nice work. Oh, he's got a snow cone.
Chicks dig good defense.
The 2-2. In the dirt. Good block by Yan. Here's the payoff pitch. Right back over the screen. Wow, that was a good-looking pitch.
That's the second time that Olt has walked to a guy that doesn't walk many, if any. He's walked twice today, and they were both on 3-2 pitches. This one was close. He tries to go inside. He pulls his arms up like it was in, but it didn't look high. And wasn't sure if it had to play. It was close. So now first and second, and 2 outs.
And Tyler Flowers, who flied to left his only time up, is the batter.
He had the same opportunity in the second inning. First and second, 2 outs.
A little bit outside. Threw it by him. One-on-one account. Just missed outside. 2 balls and a strike. Two balls, 2 strikes. 2 on, 2 out. Indians leading 3-0 here in the 4th. Chicago trying to work their way back into it. Tomlin trying to keep them off balance as he has. It's just taking them a lot of pitches here today. Almost 20 per inning. Full count. It would appear that both starting pitchers are on the 5-and-fly program today. Now the payoff pitch. High pop.
That wind's going to push it out of play.
We'll try again. Man, it's been a 27-pitch inning for Tomlin. They're taking the lazy Sunday theme to the extremes. Checks the runner. And the payoff pitch. Strikes him out to end the inning. A half dozen Ks for Tomlin, and the White Sox strand a pair. We go to the bottom of the 4th, 3-0 Cleveland. Time now to tweet your strongest fan photo to us using the hashtag STO DataStrongFan for a chance to have one of your photos shown during an upcoming telecast. It's all courtesy of T-Mobile. For the Tribe, Lonnie Chisenhall, Abraham Almonte, and Jason Kipnis due up. Curveball in for a strike. Lonnie belted a curveball for a home run in the second inning. Or was that a fastball?
That was the heater.
Not the heater. It was the first home run off a lefty for Lonnie since Memorial Day of 2014, so a little over a year.
That was only his 52nd at-bat against lefties on the season.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the few starts that we've seen since he came back against the lefty.
Yeah. Well, and he's probably in the lineup because he was 4 for 7 coming into the day off of Danks. But he hasn't been facing him recently. Usually it's almost like a platoon system. That was a jam shot.
One down. The countdown to face-off for the Columbus Blue Jackets is on. Opening night against the New York Rangers, just 19 days away on the home of the Blue Jackets, Fox Sports Ohio.
Yeah, you put it 19 days away. At the end of a regular baseball season, just 14 days away. 2 weeks from today, we'll end the season here in Cleveland.
That's right.
Against the Red Sox. So that puts it in perspective.
Abraham Almonte doubled and scored in the second. Bullseye from John Danks. Now he's at 80 pitches. Down low. Oh no. A called strike from Todd Tishner. Almonte not appreciative. You tell me. That looked low.
Yeah, it was.
Pops this one to left center. And Adam Eaton runs it down 2 away. Top of the order, Jason Kipnis. Kip led off the game with a 2-strike single on a broken bat deal. Then in the second, he smoked one to deep right field. Looked like a home run, but the wind knocked it down. And Trace Thompson leaped up at the wall, caught it maybe a foot south of the yellow line.
You know, that it figures, and it shows you. He hits one off the end of the bat, and it goes for a base hit, and you feel good about yourself. You hit one where you think you have a home run, the wind keeps it in the ballpark, he makes a catch, and it crushes you. So he's 1 for 2.
Low and away. Upstairs. Right back up the middle, and it's through. And Kipnis with 2 hits on the afternoon. Not surprising. He has been almost a .350 hitter at home this year.
Well, he takes that fastball away on the ground, up the middle.
Lindor aggressively going after a changeup. Hey, our stat of the game brought to you by Buick. 100 hits and 10 home runs among American League rookies aged 21 or younger since 1983. Pretty short list. And they were all young when they did it. Just foul. I don't know if we had the ages of those guys, but I think
they
Ruben
were all.
Sierra was 20.
Yeah, they were all 20. The oldest, I think, was 21.
Griffey Jr. was 19, and the other three were 21. And really, you look at those guys, and all of them had good careers. The exception was Rocco Baldelli, and that wasn't because of him. It's just, the poor guy never, and he suffered some serious injuries. I think at one point he had that sort of mysterious illness that knocked him out for almost a whole year.
I'm trying to remember what he had. It was right at the end of his career. I don't know if he was with the Red Sox at that time and he had already left Tampa.
Yeah.
I think he's back in the Tampa front office.
The 0-2. Popped up on the infield. That'll end the inning. 4 in the books. Cleveland 3, Chicago nothing. Honda dealers, by the Cleveland Clinic. Call for an appointment today. And by the game-changing all-new Ford F-150. The future is tough. Three 0 Indians. Fifth inning. Carlos Sanchez, Adam Eaton, and Jose Abreu. Inside. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Strike 3 called. Sanchez watched it go by. And that's 7 strikeouts now for Tomlin. Let's head down to Andre Knott.
Last night's starter, Carlos Carrasco, had a great start when it came to his strikeouts. But Terry Francona felt like he got too many strikeouts early, and that kind of took away from his pitching. I just asked this question when you see some of these bigger guys and Tomlin get inside on them. What's the difference in what they're doing? Tomlin barely throws 90, and he can get inside and keep going with his program, where Carlos got a little bit away from his game last night after he had some strikeouts.
Well, Tomlin's not. He has to use both sides of the plate. You know, he'll go in on big hitters when they think he's going away, and then he'll go right back away. He has command. Carrasco, no doubt, better stuff with the slider and things like that, but it's all about pitching and keeping hitters off stride.
Seemed to me that second time through the order last night, the White Sox, were able to lay off the borderline pitches, and Carrasco, for whatever reason, just wasn't quite as sharp. He was just missing, but they were able to just lay off. They got him into some hitter counts. You know, he walked a guy. And
well, yeah, the Brantley walk was the one that jumped out to everybody, because if you remember, he had Brantley 0-2. And Brantley hit the home run on him when we were back in Chicago a couple weeks ago, and it kind of bothered some people on the Indians that he didn't throw another fastball, guys, after he got him 0-2.
Well, then that's his fault, and it's also whoever catcher. Your catcher can't let you get out of your rhythm. He's got to keep you in there. He had a good slider last night, so I can see where they wanted to go with it maybe a lot of the times, but you can't forget about your fastball.
Breaking ball ripped foul.
Well, plus the White Sox are a team that they've had a lot of success against Carrasco this year, and sometimes that helps too. It doesn't matter how you're throwing the ball; they just feel that they're going to get to you, or they can get to you. Some mistakes defensively also helped him.
Low and away. No chase by Abreu.
No, Abreu's had a pretty good look at that breaking ball, and he smoked one off the center field wall in his last at-bat. It's another full count, and we've had a boatload of full counts in this game between both pitchers. 6 of them all together.
Off the plate, he walked him. Third walk issued by Tomlin. He walked 3.
Right.
Or was that not ball 4?
I thought it was ball 4. That was a full count. And now the umpires, they all got to get together here. We saw this once before. That was ball 4. Now the home plate umpires tell them to go. Sometimes the hitters don't know, and everybody else, they say they have 4, and I think it was. It was ball 4. So now we can say officially that, yes, that's 3 walks on the day, and he had 3 in his first 7 starts.
In there for a strike. Just missed outside. Runner at first with 2 down, and a 1 ball, 1 strike count. To center, Almonte racing into the gap. And he makes a fine running catch to end the inning. Three 0 Tribe on top. And moving now to the home half of the fifth. Michael Brantley in the box and takes a strike on the outside corner. Brantley has struck out and he is grounded out. Slow breaking ball in the dirt.
That's where he's been putting that breaking ball. The couple he has left up in the zone today, they've been able to get base hits on it. So he's trying to get ahead of that hitter and make him chase the breaking ball. And to this point, not many of them have.
We have stirring in both bullpens. I don't believe anybody's throwing just yet.
Well, they will be soon. Dank's approaching the 100-pitch mark. Not that it means anything, but they're getting ready to.
Looks like Zach McAllister's about to start for Cleveland. The 2-2 to Brantley. Strike three call. One away. Our in-game recap brought to you by your Toyota dealers. Lonnie Chisenhall with a two-run homer in the second. And then three batters later, Francisco Lindor with a two-out RBI single. And that has been all the scoring so far today. Ryan Rayburn walked in the first, singled in the third. Chases after a pitch, 1-1.
A lot of pitches early for John Danks today. He just with one out here in the 5th at the 100 pitch mark.
Yeah, it wasn't quite Randy Wolf who threw 50 pitches in the first inning here a week ago in game 2 of our doubleheader. Rayburn cuts and misses 2-2. Missed inside. Full count. He ends up walking him. And there's one on and one out.
Well, KeyBank Kids tickets start at just $15 for kids 12 and under with the purchase of an adult ticket. Kids tickets are located in the family deck here at Progressive Field. Log on to Indians.com/kid tickets today.
Santana takes it's up high, ball 1. Down low, 2-0. Three balls, no strikes. In the right, Thompson will pull it down, 2 down. To third. Corralled nicely by Olt, and he throws him out. So we played 5 here at Progressive Field. It's 3-0 Cleveland. Time to take a look at our T-Mobile Data Strong fan photo of the game. And a reminder, you can tweet your photos to us using the hashtag STO Data Strong Fan for a chance to have one of your pictures shown during an upcoming telecast. Well, Josh Tomlin's still on the hill as he goes to the 6th inning of work. He's just shy of 100 pitches, but he'll try to maybe push through this inning. Trace Thompson to lead it off. Pops the first pitch up, and that's out of play. Zach McAllister looks like he's just about ready.
Yeah, both bullpens are ready.
Big curveball, and it drops in for a strike. 0-2 the count. Struck him out with a high fastball. Number 8 for Tomlin, 1 down in the 6th.
Well, that's his season high, 8. Done it one other time. A nice little cutter. He's had good breaking ball working again. And this year, Josh Tomlin at least 5 in every start he has made. Today, he is at 8.
In the air, right field. Lonnie Chisenhall makes the grab. He was fighting the sun a little bit, maybe the wind too. And sometimes it looks like that wind's blowing it in from right, so it's going to knock it down. But where Lonnie's playing, he's behind the seats, so sometimes you might get a little different effect in true right field as you do in right center. Alexei Ramirez doubled his last time up. It's his only hit in the series. And a strike called. Low. 1-1.
Tomlin just 1 ground ball out today. 7 fly ball outs. 8 strikeouts.
Another ball out of play. A little bit outside. 2-2 the count. Smashed down the left field line. That's a fair ball and headed to the wall. Ramirez will stroll into second base with a 2-out double. And that's going to be it for Josh Tomlin.
That's their 3rd hit with 2 outs out of the 4 hits they have. This ball just a bit up. Ramirez takes advantage of it. He wanted it in. He left it out over the plate. So Josh's afternoon will be over. 5 2/3 innings. Just the 4 hits. 3 of them doubles. But another good job by Tomlin.
The Cleveland Clinic call to the bullpen will be for Zach McAllister. Right-handers coming on when we come back. On Drennan Live, followed by Jimmy Hanlon inside the Golf Zone at 9, right here on Sports Time Ohio. Zach McAllister coming on for the Indians. McAllister will be facing Mike Olt with a runner at second and 2 down. Josh Tomlin went 5 2/3. He struck out 8, but uncharacteristically walked 3 because he'd only walked 3 in 50 innings coming into today. Command maybe not as sharp as he would have liked, but at the end of the day, he hasn't given up a run.
No, it wasn't like we've seen him do in the past, but yeah, he battled in there, and 3 walks today for him. That's as many as he's had all year in his first 7 starts. But he hung in there and gave up just 4 hits.
Fastball outside corner, called strike. Throw it right by him. And the count 2-2. And strike 3 called. McAllister comes in and does the job. We'll go to the bottom of the 6th. It remains 3-0 Cleveland. Be sure to catch Fox Sports Live on Fox Sports 1 tonight for complete highlights and analysis of today's Major League Baseball action and Week 2 of the National Football League. Fox Sports Live is tonight on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Chicago goes to their bullpen after John Danks went 5 innings today. Charged with 3 runs on 7 hits. And he struck out 3 and walked a couple. But for Danks, like Josh Tomlin, it was just really had to work really hard to get through each and every inning.
A lot of deep counts. There were 7 full counts throughout the afternoon. A lot of foul balls. So Danks ended up going 5, giving up 7 hits, 3 runs, a couple of walks, 3 strikeouts. Wild pitch and the home run, the 2-run homer back in the second inning. The Indians only scored in that second inning. They had 4 hits in the inning and put 3 on the board.
Zach Putnam with a first pitch strike into Yan Gomes, who singled and scored in that second inning for Cleveland. Low, 1-1. It's going to go foul up the third base side. And Gomes behind on the count, 1-2. That got the umpire, Todd Tishner. Pulls it foul. Elsewhere in the wild card race right now, Houston, they're in the they have the lead in the wild card chase for that second spot. They're tied right now with Oakland. Boy, what a comeback win for the Astros last night to stop their 5-game losing streak.
Yeah, they fell behind and big 3-run homer pulled them up.
That's a 1-1 ball game in the 5th. Minnesota leads the Angels 3-0. They're in the 4th. The significance there is that if Minnesota goes on to win, then Kansas City could only reduce their magic number down to 3. They're beating Detroit 8-3 in the 6th inning. The Royals closing in on officially clinching the AL Central. The 2-2. Well struck, deep center. Eaton looking up. It is off the top of the fence. And Gomes into second base with a leadoff double.
I don't think you can hit a ball to any part of this ballpark any harder and stay in the ballpark. It was a breaking ball. And he was hoping that wind blew it to right center, but it did not. It stayed out in left center field, just to the left field side, high off that wall out there, and it deflects back to Eaton and comes back. Watch where it hits. Just underneath that last panel up there. I thought it was going to be a home run, but it'll be a leadoff double for Gomes. His second hit of the day, his 17th double of the year.
Lonnie Chisenhall lines one to left. Cabrera won't get it. It'll short hop the wall. Gomes will score. Lonnie into second base with an RBI double. 4-0 Cleveland. So Zach Putnam is greeted by back-to-back ringing doubles by the Indians.
That sinker stayed up. He had a slider that stayed middle of the plate. This sinker going down, and it's supposed to be down and away, stays up, that Chisenhall took advantage of. So back-to-back doubles. And they are in business. 4 runs on 9 hits. Gomes with 2 hits. He scored twice. Chisenhall with 2 hits. He drove in 3 of the 4 runs for the Indians.
Almonte showing bunt. Flowers couldn't get the ball out of his glove.
Four-run lead right now. You got to swing the bat. Got a man in scoring position. Just drive him in. Pull the ball. No, that's. These young guys, these young guys will learn. I mean, right now he's got to be doing it on his own. You've got to swing the bat here and try and pull the ball in a situation. You have a 4-run lead. You're in the 6th inning. You try and bury the team you have out there with nobody out.
Well, now he's got to swing it.
We hope.
Almonte batting from the right side in the 2nd inning, pulled a double just inside the bag down the left field line. This is his first at bat left-handed today. The 0-2 again. Hit to right field. What a catch by Thompson.
That's what you want to do.
Tagging and going to third is Chisenhall, one away.
I mean, it was a nice play, but the guy still gets him second or third because he pulled the ball. That's what you wanted to do right from the outset. Nice catch by Thompson. Saves a run. So now Kipnis gets an opportunity. Infield will be in.
A little bit low, ball 1. Kipnis has had a good day, 2 for 3, couple of singles, just missed hitting a home run. Came up about a foot shy back in the 2nd inning. Wind knocked it down right at the top of the wall. Down low. 2-0.
First one off the end of the bat. Got a hanging breaking ball. Then another one right back up the middle.
Just missed outside. 3-1. Francisco Lindor waits on deck. Inside, ball 4. And the Indians have 2 on with a 1 out. And out comes pitching coach Don Cooper. Time for a Mazda game break. Here's Al Pawlowski.
Hey, Matt and Rick, you guys were just talking about the A's and Astros. Colby Rasmus has joined the 20 home run club. That's number 20 on the season off the right field foul pole. Only run for Houston so far today. They're even at 1. A's and Astros, 5th inning in Houston, guys.
All right, thanks, Al. Francisco Lindor had an RBI single back in the second inning, 1 for 3 today, 4 for 11 in the series. Since the All-Star break, Lindor with 84 hits. In a rookie season, he's up there with Kenny Lofton, Rick Manning, Larry Doby. To center. Look how far Eaton has to go to get that ball. Tagging and coming home is Chisenhall. 2 runs home here in the 6th, and the Indians' lead is 5-0. Another example of how crazy the wind is playing today. Eaton went straight back on that ball and then ended up about 25 yards in the left center field.
Yeah, it's a tough day with the sun out there and a lot of the wind. You got to keep your feet moving. He's going back, and now he's going to sprint in and end up making the catch. His only play is, look at it, just pushes it the other way.
Michael Brantley is 0 for 3 today. A couple of strikeouts and a ground ball out. Up and away, ball 1. Brantley scalds one. Deep center field. Off the wall. Kipnis coming around third, will be waved home. Here's the throw to the plate. He is safe. A 3-run 6th to match a 3-run 2nd. And the Indians lead by a half dozen.
Well, with 2 outs, you're off and running on the get-go. Although Eaton played this ball pretty well off the center field wall. You have a big lead. You can afford to send him. Kipnis was running all the way. Even though they relayed just a little late. Brantley gets the RBI, a 2-out double. His 45th double. How about that?
First since Lou Boudreau to
yes,
go back-to-back 45
doubles
seasons.
again.
Ryan Rayburn takes low, ball 1. Indians have roughed up Zach Putnam, who came on in relief here in the 6th. Giving up 3 hits, 3 runs.
Yeah, all hits were doubles.
Swing and a miss by Rayburn, and he falls behind 1-2. Rayburn goes down on strikes to end the inning. But not before the Indians put 3 more on the board and open up a 6-0 advantage. Kia. Visit mykiacleveland.com to learn more. By Levin Mattress, located in all Levin furniture and freestanding locations. And by AT CLE Uverse, has more channels on the go than cable. The Indians lead it by a score of 6-0. 6 runs on 10 hits for the Tribe. No errors, 7 left. No runs, 4 hits for Chicago. No errors. They've also left 7. Zach McAllister struck out Mike Olt to end the 6th. Stays on to start the 7th. And Tyler Flowers takes strike 1. Fastball sails high. Swing and a miss. I think the wind has picked up from when we started, maybe.
Boy, it seems like it.
Definitely not getting any warmer. Strike 3 called. Back-to-back Ks for McAllister. Let's go down to Andre Knott, who has more on the Indians and how they're developing this bullpen now.
Yeah, talking to Terry Franconi before the game and even talking to Mickey Callaway a little bit, they said right now they're trying to strike a balance of winning with the certain pitchers, but also bringing some guys along. And you look at Trevor Bauer last night, who got an inning in the 9th inning, and he was able to pitch, and Gavin Floyd. And they said, look, some of these guys we're trying to win with, and they were able to do this throughout the season with a guy like McAllister. And Tito said it's been difficult, but it's been fun to watch Manship come along, and they're hoping the same thing can work with Bauer.
McAllister fires it outside. 2-0. Three balls, no strikes. And he walks the number 9 hitter Sanchez on 4 straight after he made quick work of Tyler Flowers. Top of the order, and Adam Eaton. Well, after 5 straight, Yan Gomes going to go for a talk. There's nobody up in the
That's
Cleveland
the one thing
pen.
about McAllister. There's been a little inconsistency when he comes out there. All of a sudden you think he has it, and then he'll pull a couple of pitches and then lose the strike zone.
Mickey Callaway getting on the phone. I didn't see anybody up. Maybe there is somebody. No, they're just getting somebody up now. White Sox have a right-hander up in their pen. The 1-1. And Eaton slaps it to left. Brantley, a long way to go. He won't get it. Off the wall. Plays it perfectly, but just nowhere to go with the ball. And the White Sox have runners at second and third with 1 out.
That's Eaton's second hit. He drove that ball to left field.
Sure did.
For Eaton, his 25th double, and you get that fastball away, and he stayed on it. Chases Brantley back, and Michael, the one hop, grabs it. Got to stop him at third. So second and third in 1 out. And the Sox looking to get on the board. That's the 4th double for them today.
Now left-hander Kyle Crockett getting loose for the Tribe as Callaway goes out to talk with McAllister. Jose Abreu, the batter, doubled in the third, walked in the fifth. Good fastball, painted the outside corner. White Sox head to Detroit. They've got a day-night doubleheader. I believe it's tomorrow.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, they go to Detroit for 4 games in 3 days, and then after that stop, they go to New York and play the Yankees for 4 before they head home to close out the season.
Indians will be off tomorrow. Head out tomorrow night for their last road trip of the year. 3 with Minnesota, 3 with Kansas City. Popped up, down the line, drops fair. Picked up by Chisenhall? No, he didn't pick it up. And coming in to score is Adam Eaton. I think he was going to pick it up, but Santana running right at him may have distracted him from getting a handle on the ball. So the White Sox get a pair.
Well, there was no way anybody could catch this ball. It was just placed perfectly. Yeah, Santana running straight into him. He has his back to the infield. Nobody's going to get there. Chisenhall coming in. Wanted to barehand it. Didn't catch it cleanly. So both runs score. McAllister's afternoon is over.
Timeout for a pitching change. It's 6-2 Cleveland. Indians Live, presented by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care, is coming up next here on Sports Time Ohio. Al Pulaski, Jensen Lewis have the highlights, the analysis, everything you need to know about today's ball game. Especially for those of you who've been maybe flipping back and forth.
Well, it won't be much longer.
Kyle Crockett, 27th appearance of the year. He's on to face Melky Cabrera with a runner at first and 1 out. Chicago on the board, but the Indians still leading 6-2. And a strike to the outside corner to Melky Cabrera. Double play ball. Kipnis to Lindor. Back to first. The Tribe turns 2 and ends the inning. White Sox get on the board, but it's the Indians in front 6-2. 7th inning stretch brought to you by Spitzer Auto World. As promised earlier, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Lonnie Chisenhall got the Indians off and running today with a 2-run homer in the 2nd inning. Then in the 6th, an RBI double off the wall and left. The new Chicago pitcher is Frankie Montas.
Look at that wind whipping on those uniforms.
Zach Putnam won an inning. Gave up 3 runs on 3 hits. Walked 1, struck out 1. Santana, Aviles, and Gomes for the Indians here in the 7th inning. Frankie Montas goes 6'2", 185 pounds. He's only 22 years old.
He looks bigger than 185 to me.
That's what I was thinking.
That's got to be signing age.
That's what I looked at. So this guy looks like he's got to be about 2 1/4, maybe 230.
Oh gosh, yes, it certainly looks like it.
Yeah, I'd say that hasn't been updated in a while.
If he's 185, I'm 135.
In the dirt and a full count. Montas out of the Dominican Republic. He originally signed with Boston when he was a kid and came to the White Sox with Avisail Garcia and Jake Peavy deal. Garcia came via Detroit. That was a three-way trade, but strike 3 called. Santana thought it was ball 4. Instead, he's headed to the dugout. 1 away.
Well, the pitcher is in the shadows, and you see it come back out. He locked Santana up. He wanted the ball 4, but it's a called strike. 1 out here in the 7th.
Aviles 0 for 3 on the day, swings and misses. Checks on a ball down low. To short, backhanded by Ramirez, can't get the handle. And Mike Aviles has an infield single.
He just, in the transfer, he never got it into his hand. See it slip right out. He knew he had to get rid of it quickly. But the ball drops. Aviles with a single. 11 hits now for the Indians. That's the first hit for Mike today.
Aviles chased back. The Astros have opened up a 3-1 lead over Oakland. Kansas City cruising over Detroit 9-3. And that's a strike to Gomes. Way outside. 2 balls and a strike. upstairs. All you have to do is take a look at the outfielders, and you get an idea of how this game is going. There's a lot of guys just standing around out there looking like, is this ever going to...
A lot of pitches, a lot of deep counts. I'll tell you, when it's windy, it's not an easy game to play.
Been a lot of that. Looking down, checking the weeds.
This isn't, usually when you get into a game, you have maybe 3 innings of a game that'll have some nice tempo to it. This has never had a tempo to it all afternoon, right from the outset.
Indians scoring in 2 innings. They scored 3 in the second and 3 in the 6th. Runner goes, and the throw is in time.
Strike him out, throw him out, double play.
So that'll end the inning. And after 7, it's still Cleveland 6, Chicago 2.
Retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cleveland Indians.
(6-2) Tribe, 8th inning now here at Progressive Field. And the Indians go back to the bullpen for Brian Shaw. The workhorse out of that Tribe bullpen, making his 68th appearance of the year. Far and away the leader. He'll be facing the 4, 5, and 6 hitters for Chicago: Trace Thompson, Avisail Garcia, and Alexei Ramirez. Shaw starts him off with a strike. Took a little something more off that one. 0-2. as impressive as Thompson has been in our limited opportunities to see him play, the Indians have at times exposed a few of his holes in that swing.
Well, that first series in Chicago, he swung the bat very well. And now they come back and he started adjusting to a guy. Once you see him swing, and it looks like he can be there. You hang him a breaking ball and he smoked it.
He had been 1 for 9 in the series before that, but both of his hits are doubles.
You know, he looked like he was susceptible to that fastball belt high and above when you got to 2 strikes. But you look at the location of this pitch, it's a spinner, and it stayed up, and he kept his hands back and hit it hard down into the left field. So they have 5 doubles on the afternoon.
Big chopper. Kipnis has to wait back on it. Great job to field it and throw out Garcia. That had to be a wicked hop once it hit the ground. Looked like an old-fashioned one of those Super Bowls when we were kids.
Yeah, he couldn't come in to get it, so he had to wait for the second hop. You see him, and it went high into the glove. And that throw, I'll tell you, I don't know if he cut it or what, but it took off, and it was right in the end of the glove of Santana.
Well, Alexei Ramirez has doubled each of his last 2 times up. Shoots that one into the club seats. Just a bit outside. 2-1. One down and a runner at third for Chicago here in the 8th inning. The 2-2. Low and away. Full count. Watch this pitch from Shaw.
Well, you get 2 strikes on you, boy. You just fight to survive. Everything usually goes away from you, but this time it started to come in on him. He lives for another pitch. Fouled it off.
I don't know that it's been an inordinate amount, but it seems like we've had a lot of foul balls in this game.
There's no doubt. We got to check with our. Well, no, I'm sorry. He's up here today at high center. Carey, he's usually down there bringing foul balls up, giving them to the umpires. Not today. We could have had a count. But they have been through a lot. There have been a lot of foul balls.
Shaw ready with a 3-2 pitch. And another foul ball.
Well, he's staying alive. He wants to get that man in from third base with one out here. It's a gimme run if he can get a ball on the ground to the infield.
This will be the 9th pitch of the at-bat for Alexei Ramirez.
And he gets it done.
Second. Kipnis will throw him out. Run scores at 6-3, and there are 2 down in the inning. For Ramirez, that's RBI number 58 on the year. There's a strike on the outside edge. And Mike Holt is looking at a 1-1 count. Shaw gets him to go. Just missed up and in.
Yes, he did.
He went around. He strikes him out to end the inning. Brian Shaw gives up a run, but the Indians lead it 6-3, middle of the 8th. Tomlin, command and feel. It was a struggle for him, but he got through 5 2/3 scoreless today. And the early offense against John Danks, they got to him for 3 in the second, and they were able to cruise until they banged out 3 more in the 6th off the bullpen.
Yeah, good day today.
Dan Jennings on the pitch now for Chicago.
So the left-hander is coming on to face Chisenhall, Almonte, and Kipnis. And Chisenhall has had a good afternoon. 3 ribbies, scored a pair of runs, homer, double.
Well, if this holds up, then Bruce is going to have a lot of happy callers on his show for a change tonight.
Browns win and an Indians win.
Yeah. Browns roll over Tennessee 28-14 just down the street. Johnny Manziel with a couple of long bomb touchdown passes. One of 50, one of 60. He just showed the final there on the scoreboard. Lonnie wraps one to second base. And Sanchez throws him out. Our Pat O'Brien Chevrolet play of the game in the 6th inning. It was double your pleasure. Yan Gomes doubled the lead off. Just missed a home run. Lonnie Chisenhall doubled him home. And then later in the inning with 2 outs, Michael Brantley doubled off the wall as the Indians would score 3 times in the inning. Almonte shoots one in the left, and he's got a 2-hit ball game. Cody Allen up for Cleveland.
Yeah, he'll get some work with the off day tomorrow. You don't want to leave him out there not getting into a ball game, so he's going to come get some work in. And if it's a save, if it stays 6-3.
Bullseye. Strike into Jason Kipnis. Chased one in the dirt. And this is where it might be tough because that pitcher's in the sun.
Yeah.
So the ball leaves his hand, and then by the time it gets halfway, it goes dark.
Yes, it does. It's been a tough day with the conditions, with the wind and the sun and now the shadows.
Down to second goes Almonte on the wild pitch. I think that's a pretty good look for people at home, even though it's not ideal, it's not perfect, but you get that shot from behind home plate, you can see the ball come out of the pitcher's hand bright, and then it just, boom,
you lose it. Yeah, it's not an easy thing to pick up. Sometimes that spin is a tough thing to pick up on the baseball. You may see it out there, but you know that halfway it gets into the shadows, and you may lose it after that, or not really get a good look at it. Let's put it that way.
Now the 1-2. Off of his foot. That's up the first base line, and it goes foul. It was hugging the chalk. It looked like maybe it was going to work its way back into fair territory, but Dan Jennings quickly went over and made sure he got it before it came back. Nothing doing there with Almonte at second base. In the air, third baseman Mike Olt makes the catch. 2 down. Francisco Lindor had an RBI single in the second and a sac fly to drive in a run in the sixth. Missed outside. Ball. And a strike called to even it up 1-1. Smash towards short. Big hop though for Ramirez. Throws him out. And we'll go to the ninth. 6-3 Cleveland.
for the save here. And really the story today, Jensen, pitching. Josh Tomlin really set the tone.
Oh, you're not the anchor on the boat anymore. I got to take that away. But also, I think some early offense. Lonnie Chisenhall, big home run against a left-handed pitcher. Don't see that too often. But now the Indians, you get a big series win today if Cody can hold on to it. And start another huge series in Minnesota on
a Cleveland
Tuesday.
sweep if it happens. The
That's
Browns
right.
already won. Can the Indians hold on? Stay tuned. It's coming up right now. Matt Underwood and Rick Manning on the call. And then stay tuned for us. Indians Live brought to you by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care. Gentlemen, take it away.
All right, thanks, boys. Coming into the top half of the ninth inning is going to be Cody Allen looking for save number 31. 6-3 ball game. He's appearing for the 64th time this year. 30 out of 34. Opposition hitting just .230 off him. He's going to face 8, 9, and 1, and I already see Beckham coming out into the on-deck circle, so we're going to have a pinch hitter for Flowers. And then it's Sanchez and Eaton, the scheduled hitters.
So Gordon Beckham to bat for Tyler Flowers. As Cody Allen will try to nail it down.
Quickly jumps up top, 0-2.
Gordon Beckham, Rick, has to be, I would think maybe if you're a scout, he's got to be like and I don't mean this disrespectfully toward him, but he's like a scout's nightmare. Looks like a can't miss guy. First round, 8th overall pick. He's got all the tools. Everything looks good. But it just never really panned out. Swing and a miss, strikes him out.
You'll see that
blew
pitch.
It by him.
Yeah. Didn't take much time. 3 pitches. And he's back to the bench. That can't be an easy task. Hey, going up and hit.
Yeah, right.
Especially in the shadows.
I mean, Beckham's numbers, that career .245 average. It's not. It's just when you're the 8th overall pick, you're expecting more than that. What a play by Santana. 2 away.
Ends up leading Allen right to the bag. That was a pretty nice
feed.
Yes, it was. I mean, when you sit down there, you can't just throw it at him. You've got to lead him to the base, especially if you want to get the runner. He does a nice job of knocking it down. And then he leads Cody right in stride to step on the base and take a hit away from Sanchez. Nice play.
So with 2 down, Adam Eaton, the last hope for Chicago. And a fastball strike. Breaking ball, swing and a miss. And in these conditions, no chance. If you don't pick that this spinner up right away with the bite he's got on it.
See if he comes back with it again.
Now the 0-2. Swung out and missed. He struck him out to end the ball game. A 1-2-3 ninth for Cody Allen as he nails down his 31st save of the year. And the Indians win it by a final score of 6-3 to get back to the 500 mark once again at 74-74. Josh Tomlin, the winner, he's 6-2. The loser is John Danks. He's 7-13. White Sox will head out of town with a mark of 70-78 on the year.
Well, they come back. They win 2 out of 3 in this series. They get back to the 500 mark one more time. Now they're going to be able to enjoy it for an afternoon or an off day before they travel for their last road trip to Minnesota and Kansas City. Enjoy this one, boys. You got some work to do on the road.
6-3 is the final. We'll be back with some final thoughts right after this.